in line with guidelines. We've got headline earnings per share coming in at 9.8 cents, so at the top end of what had been expected. Not so long ago, you wanted to buy out minority shareholders when Verimark's profits were declining. Many still asking, are you sticking to the story that you didn't know things were going to get this much better?
Firstly, thank you for inviting me onto your show. The question whether we, I stick to the story, the facts, to take a decision to delist is not an easy one. To see what happened there, you've got to look at the facts as it prevailed a year and a half ago. Verimark, although it had a 33-year track record very successfully, it went into a tough phase shortly after the listing. And it declined for a 3-year period. During that period, we continuously tried to resuscitate, to recover the company. Unfortunately, that did not appear to be happening. At the time, I've also lost my financial director. Clearly, the company was at the worst of the worst. And it became an issue for me to ensure survival of this company that we should consider taking it listing. And that was the reason for the offer. The reality is that it did not happen. And, hindsight is the exact science. It's easy to say what you should have done historically. The fact is we didn't delist. And what is exciting for me today is to stand here and to tell you that through exceptionally hard work, major changes in the company, we changed around about 17 people. Everybody in the top management structure, excluding myself, were changed. The results speaks for itself. This is the second period that we have, a second 6-month period that we delivered exceptional results, especially if you take into account that the official retail growth stats in South Africa is currently standing at 4.6. We are very, very pleased with the results.
Well, Michael, as you point out in the commentary, there has been a complete overhaul of the company's top management. So it looks like perhaps you just had the wrong people in management to begin with, that you've got such a strong performance once you've changed those.
When you're in an entrepreneurial business like Verimark, where so much is dependable on innovation, creativity, passion, it is difficult. I clearly went to the listing thinking that I had the right team. And clearly, I'm not saying each and every one of them were not good. There were some good people in between. The reality is just didn't work as reflected by the results earlier. We've made those changes. We have a relatively young team. Some of them is in it for 3 years, some maybe even shorter. But the good news is that to not only turn the company successfully around, but to deliver the results, 57% growth, 56% growth is unheard of in the retail industry at this point in time.
So are you really taking a more hands-on role within the group at this stage?
Very much so. But I must give full credit to the rest of my team. The last 2-3 years has not been easy, as you obviously know. But the good news is, I'm very, very hands-on. I'm not just a typical CEO, get involved in every part of the business. But the good news is that the team that we're putting together is gaining momentum. They're getting stronger by the day. And we're very, very optimistic about the future.
Of course, a complete change in top management, just one of the factors affecting this turnaround in the business. There's also been an introduction of new innovative products. You are still looking at a limited number of products, though. So let's talk through sustainability as you see it of this improved bottom line.
Yeah. You're right. The changes in management was reflected in a number of areas. Firstly, Verimark's rate of product introductions, new innovations, is the strongest that it's been in many years. The second issue were that we actually gained a lot of prominence and space in the retail stores that we operate, our retail partners. And lastly, Verimark's prominence on television in terms of TV advertising, which is the main driver of this particular model. Verimark was rated recently as one of the 4th largest television advertiser in South Africa. Now, your question of sustainability, clearly Verimark is in a unique position that we have a lot of solid older products. Some of them has been there, like our Bauer cookware, our floorware. Some of them has been there for 14 years already. And we also has complemented it with the new products. It is clearly a part of the business model. The products we bring into the business is in a lot of cases long-term products with legs, should be there for a number of years. It will always be a challenge, but we feel comfortable with the changes being made that it can be sustained.
Michael, you also seem to have shifted away from the store within a store strategy, so more of your very own branded stores. Is this because of the higher margin business there? Because it does seem that visibility is a little bit less.
It's a good question there, because initially when we start opening our own stores about 12 years ago, common wisdom were that you cannot have your own stores and be a supplier to the retail trade. In fact, we have proven that it can be a very successful model. So I think it will always be for Verimark a combination of these two, where we work in the retail and we also have our own stores. So the strategy is still to expand in both of those areas.
Well, you're one of the few companies, Michael, that stands to benefit from the rand sitting at current levels, with that rand strength filtering through. A chunk of Verimark's product range is imported. Has this affected your prices on offer? Can you become more competitive in that regard?
As any other importer, most of our retail partners does import also a vast amount of their product range. We do benefit from a strong rand, undoubtedly. We love to see it where it is now. Our costings, we're in a position to introduce more products at that price point. We clearly don't know what the rand will do. I think it's a question of there's general consensus with the experts that the rand is going to linger around that price point. Even if it worsens to a certain point, I think we feel very comfortable that we can maintain our prices.
Just looking at your cash flow issues, I mean, are they fully resolved now? Because we know last year there was a murmur that the firm might have to resort to a rights issue to cull a bank overdraft that had stretched to 33 million rand. Run us through the position on that front.
Verimark's cash flow is looking healthy. Clearly, the profitability is there for you to see. You're right. A year and a half ago, and that your earlier question regarding the consideration to delist, Verimark were clearly at a very critical stage. But through hard work and bringing that innovation, the entrepreneurial spirit back into Verimark, we have actually been very profitable. And it's obviously a balancing situation where the growth we're achieving, we're working clearly very tightly with our cash flows, especially with Christmas in front of us, where we need a vast amount of stock to come in. We're clearly very bullish about what's going to happen in Christmas.
Perhaps looking at the investment case for Verimark, Michael, because of course you are a small share, so really for retail investors. But going back to that delisting, or the potential delisting last year, I think you showed that the family does really control this business, so can muscle smaller shareholders around. I mean, why would smaller investors want to come into a business like this? What sort of returns can they expect, and what sorts of guarantees as the majority shareholder can you give them that they won't be mistreated?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Just the investment case for smaller shareholders for Verimark, and also your position as a controlling shareholder.
Yeah, listen, we're obviously a small cap stock. We've seen over the last 6 months a fantastic appreciation in the share price. In fact, I think somebody pointed out to me that Verimark over the last 12-month period has shown is one of the top 5 performing shares on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. This was unofficially, I'm sure in the next few weeks we'll get clarity on that. But in terms of the tradability of the share, because the share were clearly very low priced, I think there were not that many trades. As we're getting to higher price points now, we see a lot more activity, and I think there seems to be a lot of interest in the share price. We also have incentivized our management with the share incentive scheme, as you know. We have a black empowerment partner on board. So I think there is a good investment case to be made out for the Verimark share.